Welcome back, True Seeker. Appreciate Gematria32 in the chat before we start the stream saying, please hit the like button. Again, supposedly it helps the algorithm, but I'm not sure they're not taking the likes and the views and the comments away because it seems like that's what's going on every day. Anyhow, today's news, more tragedy. Mandisa, American Idol winner, dead at 47. No real explanation for her cause of death. I'm sure before long they'll put out the statement. The police found nothing suspicious, and the family will ask for privacy and prayers. And what I want to talk about is something that we've been talking about for years, and that is what is 47 in this world to a certain group of people. Again, if you didn't know, this nation was founded by a certain group of people that were members of a very prominent and powerful secret society. And if you look into that secret society, Freemasonry, you'll find that they study something called the 47th problem of Euclid. And this number, 47, once you recognize it, you'll start to see they're just popping up all over the place. And rituals like this that are highly symbolic. And again, you'll start to notice it's just in the background needlessly in movies, TV shows, ads. You'll start to notice the phone numbers on the screen if you're actually looking at the information and dates they put in front of you. It's amazing how, I mean, so often there's so much stuff shown to you in a movie with like quick shots of paperwork that most people aren't paying that much attention to, and you'd have to pause the movie to read everything on there anyway. If you actually start to pay attention to these things, you start to see that this 4 sevens everywhere. And there's a reason this nation was founded on the fourth day of the seventh month, the 4th of July. There's a reason we learned about Lincoln's speech. A lot of us had to memorize Lincoln's speech where he says 4 score and 7 years ago, but we don't think about these things. Just like how we go to school for 13 years, pledging to 13 stripes, learning about the greatest country that came out of 13 colonies. We don't think about why the Masons, the Scottish Rite, have the unfinished pyramid with 13 layers of bricks, why there's 13s all over the dollar bill, and they don't teach us in those 13 years of school about the secret societies that were so important at the founding of this nation, and the secret societies that still exist to this day. But 47 again, what is 47? This number is a lot of things, but ultimately, what it symbolizes in the meaning of numbers within a word context. Again, this is gematria. 47 has a lot to do with God and authority. And again, if you're a spiritual person, you see God as the ultimate authority. But this number is no joke. And again, I don't know how more people don't see it, because I started really paying attention to numbers after what happened on 9/11 in 2001. And one of the weird things about that day was the third building that fell was 47 floors tall. And if you look into it, 1968 is when World Trade Center construction began, and 911 was made. The first 911 emergency dial was ever made in 1968 on February 16th, the 47th day of the year. And we're going to come back to that. But 47, just monumental number, high ritual number. And now you have another example of 47. And let's get to why it matters that Mandisa is dead at 47. If you're new here, look up the song Gematria, the killing name by the band Slipknot. No, they're not a Christian band. They're not a gospel band. The reason I want you to look up the song is just this idea that there's this word Gematria, which is the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words, and why there's a song called Gematria, the killing name. And also, I want you to look up the song Murder by Numbers by the Police from 1983, where killing is the sport of the elected, and it's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. And it talks about how killing people is a fun hobby, and all the greatest names really from history were members of this club. It's like, what kind of song is this? But then you start to pay attention. You're like, wow, this might be more than a song or some kind of weird twisted thought or idea of just one musician like Sting. There's something else going on here. So gematria, it's very simple. It's the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26. And it's the reverse alphabetic order. Z is 1 back to A is 26. It's also those orders applying numerology. So there are 4 base ciphers. And you'll learn that 47 is this just omnipresent number, and it starts to make a lot of sense why. But notice here, Mandisa has the value of 47, and she was a Christian gospel singer. Christian is 47. Right now, she's found dead in Tennessee without explanation. There's only a handful of states that have a 47 connection in Gematria. Tennessee is one of them. Today, the day of the news breaking, which is the day after the passing, they're saying she died April 18th. The news breaks today, April 19th. But today's date numerology, 4 plus 19 plus 24 is 47. There are many important words that have Gematria 47, but think about this one as well. The phrase, your number is up. Your number is up. In this case, a person like Mandisa has a number assigned to her, 47. And her big song, and if you look at most headlines, they mention her song Overcomer. From what I can gather about her music career, with so many news stories focusing on that, that was her most either played song on the radio or just most popular song or most bought single. But a lot of the headlines paid it tribute to Overcomer. So time is 47, like her age. Beast, we'll come back to that. She was a Christian singer. The Christian faith teaches about the one with wisdom will calculate the number of the beast. Of course, that number is 666. We're going to come back to the 666 part of this. But Overcomer. This song released on June 21st, 2013. So it's going to turn 11 years old a little bit later this year. But notice how Overcomer has the gematria of 129. From the release of that song, that lead single Overcomer on June 21st, 2013, from that day to her death and also today is 129 months. 129 months and change later. And 129 is not an arbitrary number, especially with the news breaking today, April 19th. So she would have died 129 months and 28 days after the single released. She would have died 129 months and 29 days. Or the news of her death would have come 129 months and 29 days later, because, of course, it's one day after her passing. And the 129 is key. The number 129 has a direct relationship with the number 201. And if you're new here, we talk about how these numbers come together a lot, why Georgetown equals 129, the first Jesuit university in the U.S., and why the first recognized president is the year Georgetown was established. And you start to learn about history. They say those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. You learn that a lot of the founders were worried about the Jesuits and what they might do, especially with the founding of the Illuminati at the time this country was created by Adam Weishaupt, who died 201 days after the anniversary of the Illuminati's establishment. But anyhow, this Jesuit gang, they have this long history of 201. We're on a calendar that's given to us by a Jesuit priest. English as a 26-letter alphabet established in the century of the Jesuits, at the same time the calendar rolled out. Again, if you're new here, just to catch you up on over 10 years worth of content that I've been producing, all roads do lead to Rome, and they probably lead back beyond Rome all the way back to Babylon. But again, the phrase all roads lead to Rome is true, and that's where you can really pick up from history of who's been controlling the strings of this world. Again, we're on the Jesuit calendar, speaking the Jesuit language, English, which has been spread worldwide. And you see how they use these numbers of significance and importance. In Hebrew, the four-letter name of God, the Tetragrammaton, has the 47 connection. So, yeah, this 47 number, again, like I said, it's about God, it's about authority, it's biblical. This 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. These numbers come together a lot. And with regards to the Bible, the concept of the beast, giving into the wrong temptations, giving into evil consequences. You've heard Bob Dylan say it with Ed Bradley on 60 Minutes. The only way to make it in show business is to sell your soul. And I'm thinking that's probably true even if you're a gospel Christian singer. I could see the Christian who couldn't resist the temptation, and then they're like, well, I'm a Christian, so I'm going to ask for forgiveness for Jesus, but my life's going to be way better because of this. I'm pretty sure, man, if we could see behind closed doors, we'd see a lot of stuff just like that going on and thought processes like that. Because again, you got to ask how you would feel if you were from an average American family and you got the opportunity to now become a mega star and get tens of millions. And sure, it goes against your Christian upbringing, but is there a way you can wiggle around this and get it all? I could see a person like Mandisa, you know, Bob Dylan, he put it out there on look at watch the Bob Dylan 60 Minutes. Ed Bradley, they're laughing about selling their souls to be famous. Ed Bradley was famous on TV. He didn't last much longer after that interview, but Bob Dylan still walks. Anyway, there's a reason these same patterns keep persisting. And I said before, today's date numerology is 47, which is true. The lesser date numerology is, again, it's April 19th, 24, the day the news breaks. 4 plus 19 plus 24, that's 47. The full date numerology is 4 plus 19 plus 20 plus 24, that whole 2024 year part, which equals 67, obviously 20 more. 67 is scary because soul equals 67, satanic, blood sacrifice, human sacrifice, fateful number in celebrity death patterns, 4767. We talk about it all the time and how this would all relate through the language and the concepts we understand. Selling your soul, making a deal with the devil for fame and fortune. And again, if you're new here, I'm not trying to convince you to be a religious person, a Christian, to be a total Bible believer. The point I'm making is we're living in the society that's controlled by certain people. They control the money. With that, they control many things, including record studios, movie studios, where they get people to, maybe seemingly. I can imagine maybe some of these celebrities just think it's all a big joke. They don't even take it seriously. And then they become the next Mandisa. Because we're talking about things like this all the time in show business for over a decade straight. Just so persistent, day after day. And here's the other point I got to make about 201 if you're new here. 2 years ago on this day, where I was in Oklahoma City with a group of truth seekers, and we were there to educate about the Jesuits' long history of ritual and destruction and death and murder and 201 and what that had to do with Oklahoma City blowing up April 19th, 1995, and Timothy McVeigh being this former military CIA asset. Again, if you guys don't know, the CIA was established on the 201st day of the Pope's age, and their motto, the work of a nation, the center of intelligence, is 201 when numerology is applied, just like the words in their logo, Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America. This nation's capital was moved to D.C., the Jesuit stronghold, and Inauguration Day was moved to January 20th, 20/1, like 201, which is also the 201st day of the nation's age. This 201 thing is huge with the Jesuits. That's why if you learn it, it all starts to really make a lot of sense. It's not just the numbers and the words and the dates. It's like there's actually a logical history here. Founders worried about what happens if Jesuits come out of suppression. By the way, they came out of suppression in the time of the only 201 president, which was James Madison. James Madison, 201, the father of the Constitution. A lot of these founders were members of secret societies, could have had all kinds of ulterior motives. Again, the concept of America has always sounded great, but I've always realized since I was a young person in slave school, pledging to the 13 stripes for 13 years, but not doing it and then getting in trouble anytime we had I swear to God, anytime we had a substitute teacher, they'd come in and think they need to be hardliners on the pledge when I was growing up. And my teachers always knew I didn't want to do the pledge. I had problems with America from a young age. I wasn't happy about school. I was bored in school. It's not that I didn't like to learn. It's just that school was just too easy. It was a waste of time. Anyway, 201. Huge number at the Jesuits. They blame Oklahoma City on Timothy McVeigh. And then they say that he was this mastermind, but then his license plate was loose. So they got him with the loose license plate and the Mercury Marquee on a Wednesday named after Mercury, the trickster. But there's way more to it as well. There's so many 201s and just Jesuit fingerprints all over April 19th. And again, April 19th, the day this news breaks, of Mandisa. And here, I'm going to make a point too, because I know it's on the back of everyone's mind, and it'll be the most popular comment with the most thumbs up. Even if I do say anything about it. But Again, to understand, the news breaks today, and it's a very popular day to the Jesuits. You know, you think about Bruce Jenner, this famous male athlete on Wheaties boxes back in the day. As a older man, he decides he's now an older woman, and then he gets a hit show on TV, and he changes his name to Caitlyn Jenner, which equals 201, and Jenner sounds like gender. And again, this 201, man, you follow the path of what's been going on. The Church of Satan, the founder, LaVey, kind of like McVeigh. He died 201 days from his birthday and also 201 days from the Pope's birthday. And Catholic Pope equals 201, like the Jesuit order. But the Church of Satan, they worship the Baphomet, which is male and female. And male and female corresponds with the idea of the creator in Kabbalah. And this isn't a knock on Kabbalah. Okay. Kabbalah just imagines this all creator. So that's got to be male and female. Makes sense. It's all things creator. All things come from it. But there's this overlap with the Church of Satan worshiping Baphomet, which is male and female. It has male and female genitalia. And again, it's associated with Satan, the Baphomet, part goat. But you got the 201s over the founder of the Church of Satan. This 201 thing connecting back with Kabbalah. Remember, Jewish mysticism in Gematria equals 201, like the Holy Bible. And the physical model for Kabbalah is the tree of life, which is mentioned in Genesis 3:22. And the tree of life has 3 pillars and 22 paths. And there's a good half and an evil half. You know, just recently, Sweet Lady wanted to start watching Stranger Things. And the Stranger Things has to do with old CIA program MKUltra. This is part of the plot of the show. MKUltra stands for Monarch Mind Control. The word Monarch Butterfly is 201. You might recall the 201s all over Uvalde, and the girl who was a survivor, how the picture of her was with a monarch butterfly painted behind her, and it happened in Matthew McConaughey's hometown 201 days from his birthday, and then he waited a period of time, and then he went to the White House and called for major gun action right now, 201 days from his upcoming birthday. So we got a double 201 in there with Hollywood actor Matthew McConaughey. But at the beginning of season 2 of Stranger Things, at the beginning of season 2, it shows how one of these MKUltra parents' children has this special mental ability to make other people see things that aren't really there. So you can imagine how you could manipulate somebody like that. If you could you could make them have a full-on delusion that their house is on fire and that they're grabbing buckets of water and trying to throw the fire off of their house or get the fire, put the fire out. But people are watching. They're like, what is that person doing? Because nothing's even wrong with the house. So this person has the power to put like really crazy visions in people's house heads. So there's a police chase in the beginning, and she puts the idea in the police officer's head who's driving behind her that there's this huge catastrophe right in front of him. So he hits the brakes and swerves, and then there's nothing even going on. And then there's other cop cars following him. Because of what he does, they all pile up and crash. So she uses her mind to manipulate people severely. And this is right at the beginning, the very beginning, first episode of season 2. It's that scene. That's how it begins. And then when the destruction happens, they're going up to the cop asking him what in the world is wrong with his head and what was he doing? And it's zooming in on that shot with this confrontation and people not understanding why he just did that. And it's zooming in on the police car, which is number 201, right? And again, lo and behold, 201 is highly connected to the history of the CIA. It's highly connected to monarch mind control just through the Gematria monarch butterfly. And then you see, again, we've been talking about these things for a long time, and then all of a sudden we have a Uvalde shooting. And they code 201 all over it in a number of ways. But then they also keep showing you that monarch butterfly. And you think about how a show like Stranger Things, it's really about like a lot of horrible things are happening to young people in that show. Like horrible things are happening to young people in this society who are being tormented with all these agendas, scared of dying to death from a virus, which was simulated with Event 201. Having all this confusion because they're being taught about how they need to love all people, transgender people. It's okay if you want to change your genitalia. I mean, these are conversations that weren't being had with anyone 30 years ago. Now they're in the classroom. Remember, the word school equals Jesuit order. You learn this little gematria code, you start to see how this all makes so much sense. A lot of the modern day education system has a lot to do with the history of the Catholic Church, the Vatican, the private Jesuit institutions. Anyway, this 201, it's just so massive. It's biblical. It's Jesuit. This date, April 19th, is so Jesuit. The Jesuit church is so Catholic, which is so Christian. Some people will get upset about that, but understand Christianity, the reason we understand the religion we do is because of the Catholic Church. And for the record, Vatican also equals 47. Like this year, we had the first Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday, and the score was 25-22 for 47 points. Vatican equals 25 forwards, 47 in reverse. One of the few states that equals 47 is Nevada, where this year's Super Bowl was, in Sin City, as they perform confessions at halftime on the Vatican's birthday. But yeah, Vatican's a big 47, like government, like authority. This 47 number is so powerful. And it's a time number. The tropics of this earth, which measure the solstices, natural time, 47 degrees apart. Again, you look at our nation's capital, D.C., all of these words equal 47. Republican, Democrat, White House, President, government, authority. The letters D.C. alone are 47 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. You think about these presidents who lie to us, and part of the lie is saying there, look, we're spiritual people. We're swearing in on this Bible. A Bible that's written in riddle, mind you. Secret societies who study the Bible. They might understand more about those riddles. They might understand more about Revelation 13 and the beast and calculating the number. There might be a reason these societies have the 47th problem of Euclid, and it goes beyond what they teach the entry-level initiates. That the 47th problem of Euclid is the traditional a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which you learned about in geometry class. And gematria means geometry and language. But it has other meanings. This beast thing is not a joke. Selling your soul. Your time's up. Evil rituals synced in time. Paying tribute to the beast. Over and over. I mean, these things wouldn't just continue to happen just so blatantly. And by the way, for all the people who always leave the comment that, Zach, no person's doing this, this is the spiritual world. Again, I want you guys to think about what you're saying. I understand that you're saying that this woman might drop dead because she sold her soul and her time was up. I get that. I'm not saying that's impossible. But you have to realize man is playing a part in this. There's people who are aware of this knowledge. They might like seeing the game of this unfold, getting people to sell their souls. If you think it's all spiritual wickedness and magic, again, okay, to make a point, like I have thousands of videos out there like this, right? You don't think like if it was moral people out there, more moral people, they'd be like, wait a minute, do we need to, okay, hold on, is playing this game actually killing people? Like if they just thought it was all some big joke too. I don't know if I'm articulating this right. The point is, you have man involved on so many levels. I guess a more simple way to explain this is, you have police constantly telling you that there's nothing suspicious. People are just found dead and just nothing suspicious. I mean, when people are in their 40s and they're here one day, and do you remember? There's just so many examples, you guys. I have to continue to move along with this example before I run out of time again. But just you remember the other year when the Steelers and Raiders were about to play each other and they're about to retire, the jersey for the man who made the immaculate reception, and then he just drops dead the day after doing all these interviews on TV, and everyone was just blown away because they're like, he looked just fine yesterday. How about what they just did with OJ? I mean, OJ was like, yo, I'm good, man. They're exaggerating that. I'm ready to hit the links. I'm ready to get golfing. Puts out that all over the news on that response on the day of the Super Bowl. And then he's dead as the Masters is teeing off. They announced it as the Masters are teeing off when you last saw him in a Titleist hat talking golf. You learn the gematria, you just see how it all fits together. Titleist equals 114, 102 the other way. Announced dead on the 102nd day of the year. 11/4 is the Masters is teeing off. When in the Bible it says, slaves, obey your masters. In Ephesians 6, 5 through 9. The word slave equals 59 and 76. The word master also equals 76. OJ's dead at 76, 59 days after the Super Bowl. heading into the next season, which will have Super Bowl 59 in a predominantly black city, New Orleans. Anyway. Okay, we've covered why 47 matters, why 201 matters. 201's Jesuit, it's biblical, just like the beast. Here's more biblical, over and over, just the same stuff. She died April 18th, 24, a day prior. 4 plus 18 plus 24 is 46. She died 199 days after her birthday as well, the 46th prime number. You NFL fans know it through Brady, the 199th pick. Tom Brady equals 46. So does Patriots. But anyway, so does Michigan, where he went to school. But these numbers come together a lot. 199 and 46. Genesis 46 begins with the sacrifice. The word sacrifice in Gematria is 46. Again, when Coolio died, one of the just most blatant examples of all time again, he died at age 59 on his 59th day of his age on 59 date numerology when slave, Negro, blues, Rasta all equal 59, like Black History Month ends on the 59th day and was recognized by the feds in 76. And again, Acts 7:6 about slavery, like Ephesians 6:5 through 9. Slave 59, 76. Barack Obama 76. His Book of Promised Land 76 and 59. His Secret Service name Renegade 59. By the way, you want to know what another 5976 is? American Idol. American Idol, for the record, is 59 and 76. Here's a black woman. That description of Jesus, it's very bare. It's in Revelation 1:14, 1:14, almost like OJ announced dead on 11/4, 1:14. The word history is 1:14. LeBron James with all the King James biblical rituals, winning it for the Cavs on the real King James's birthday when King James's son was Charles, and Charles, who fought for him, were called Cavaliers. People don't get these jokes. But anyway, the sacrifice code that we always talk about here, 46. There's certain numbers that come up all the time. The thing about Coolio, I forgot to mention, again, not just the 59 part, but he died on the 46th anniversary of the Stevie Wonder single for Pastime Paradise, which is the sample for Gangsta's Paradise. And then the day of the year he died on was the day count of the year that matched the gematria of Gangsta's Paradise, like it's spelled on the record. This woman I forgot. I was bringing up the Caitlyn Jenner thing, and I forgot to make the point. I'm sure a lot of people are going to leave the comment that, Zach, you never talk about the transgender thing, which isn't true. It's just, it's very censorable, so you have to be selective when you talk about it. But I know a lot of you are going to say that this person's obviously a man because their name is Mandisa. And I've talked about like an Amanda in the past, and plenty of people left the comment like, the name Amanda's an obvious man, duh. And then it's like the most liked comment. And it's like, okay, I could see these kind of jokes being played out in this age, okay? But I don't have proof that because someone's name is Amanda, that they're a man. And, you know, once upon a time, I used to know a nice Amanda, and her and I had a nice time many a times, and she was no man. You know what I mean? Her name was Amanda, though. And these are times back before this was just front and center and everyday talking point in the news. So yeah, times are different, but I can't just say that because somebody's name is Mandisa that they are a man, okay? And I know some of you will. And for all of you who do that, you could be right. But if you're trying to persuade minds to look into the evil shit that's going on in the world, do you think that's the best starting point for the argument? Some people might argue that what I do is not the best starting point. I'm not here for the best starting point. I've seen what's going on, and I'm just trying to advance understanding and give people more knowledge of why these same numbers come up all the time, especially in the news. And if I didn't say so, the word news is also 47. So, yeah, again, her time was up. Synced up with her Overcomer hit song was her death. June 21st, you guys, the day that Overcomer, the single, came out, her biggest song. That date can be written 21/6, like 216. The number 216 is the product of 6 times 6 times 6, 216. You know, they did this with Obama. For example, Obama took office at age 47 with the 47th vice president, Joe Biden. beast 47, like government, like authority, like president, like White House. But Obama's birthday, August 4th, is the 216th day of the year. LeBron used to play in Cleveland, the 216 area code. So many 47 rituals we documented with LeBron. I still remember when they reported that LeBron was the first player to go to 6 straight finals in 66 when Bill Russell did it. And we know what they did to Bill Russell. Bill Russell, who played for the Celtics and went to Jesuit San Francisco University, died right after that finals between Boston and San Francisco, and he died on the last day of the Jesuit Ignatian year, July 31st. And with regards to July 31st, you guys, again, that's the day in history Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, died. His name is 201, Ignatius Loyola. Her first album came out on July 31st. And now, again, that's the day Ignatius died. Today's like arguably the biggest day in the history of Ignatius of Loyola's life. Not only has his Jesuit order been recognized by Rome as it was September 27th, 1540, but then it wasn't long after, April 19th, they appointed him as the superior general, the leader of this Pope's intelligence army network. Again, that's why the CIA was established in a big Jesuit ritual. That's why this 201 code's all over DC. The nation's history. It's become more and more transparent with the Jesuits. The Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator, equates to 266. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope, the first publicly Jesuit Pope, when he spoke in D.C. in 2015, when Obama was president. That was the 266th day of the year. But yeah, again, the Catholic Church, the Jesuits, they gave us the calendar, the language. It's obvious that they are pulling the strings on these rituals. Those Georgia Guidestones that were a new 10 Commandments for a new world order that were put up on March 22nd, they came down 201 days after the Pope's birthday. And I don't think that was a good thing. I think that was covering up the plan that was etched in stone so people would forget about it as they really went into the phase of ramping up the agenda of worldwide depopulation. Here, speaking of depopulation and just how this number is omnipresent, I want you to look up Henry Kissinger decades ago when they targeted 47 nations for depopulation. Here, you know what? Just these are things that I used to be talking about in 2014 and referencing on the web back then. Back then, what's funny is a lot of things that were easy to research back then, they now no longer seem to exist in the search engines. Like, I hate this 1984 digital world where it's so easy to get rid of information. But here, Kissinger, depopulation, 47 countries. It should pull up. All right, this is something different. National Security Study Memorandum 200. The countries are projected to create 47% of all world population growth. Okay, this is, hold on. This is a different thing. This is where they targeted these nations who they expect to be responsible for 47% of the population growth. That was projected in 1974. Go figure, the reflection. Unless maybe I did twist it. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was those nations were targeted because they said they were going to be responsible for 47% of the growth. It's possible I got that backwards. I'll do more research on that later. But I want to say, and again, there were multiple conferences like this on history. I want to say there is one where 47 countries are targeted. But again, you just pay attention, you guys. 47 is omnipresent in media. It's like it's being put up, like it's a symbol. And again, remember words, spells, spelling. Oh, here. To make one other point, I was bringing up that show Stranger Things and MKUltra and the history of 201 and the Jesuits and the Catholic Church and the CIA and how it all comes together over time. Again, Jewish mysticism equates to 201, and Jewish mysticism is centered on Kabbalah, where this whole thing of letters and numbers comes from, Gematria. But I noticed in Stranger Things, when they access the evil world for the first time, they do it through a tree. And they call the evil world the upside down. That's what the clip off, the evil side of the tree of life is known as in Kabbalah. It's known as the upside down tree of life. It's the evil place. So that's why you look at this stuff, this popular show that a lot of people have watched. They're not going to notice the 201 police cars. They talk about MKUltra and mind control. Yeah, there's even I remember I can't because I've been watching it with Sweet Lady and I've been missing some of it, but I know in one episode they're talking about the MKUltra piece, and then they cut from that to a guy watching the TV as it goes to like commercial break, and it's like a spinning 8 on the screen. I was like, oh man. Remember Alex Jones, InfoWars? He's got the Jesuit fingerprints all over him, especially being down in very Jesuit Austin. But he lost his supposedly CIA informant. I can't remember if it was 201 days from that routine guest birthday or 201 days from Jones's birthday is one of the two when the news broke. But Alex Jones has talked about how they used the flickering lights in the news and the broadcast and all the stuff to create a hypnosis state in people. And what I think is it doesn't work in some people. Like, I don't think that stuff's ever worked on me. I've always looked at the TV and the news like it was total fear mongering and bullshit. And I knew as a kid, I didn't like being in the room with the news. I knew if I went outside, everything was just fine. News was always like all this scary stuff. I'd be on the back, I'd be passing through with an apple, like, oh my God, what do you have that? Why are you watching that right now? Sounds terrifying. And really, it still is a lot of the same stuff, but at the same time, where the news is always the boy who cried wolf and overstating everything, unless we've just been lied to about everything, and like literally everything has just been theater and overblown and just headlines and stories in papers, and we've literally been lied to about everything, including the guy who on his birth certificate his name equals 201, and that's Adolphus Hitler. Adolf Hitler is 56, and he supposedly died at age 56 in April, the month that equals 56, just like Lincoln did at the end of the war. Both these men blamed on wars. Lincoln blamed the Civil War on Jesuits, Confederate 201. That new Civil War movie, remember they put out the trailer for it 201 days after the director's birthday. At the same time, you had the death of Mr. Brower, Jesuit educated actor who's been in a lot of the Civil War movies. Denzel, Jesuit educated at Fordham. But anyway, Denzel was in movies with him as well. Anyway, too tangential, but yeah. Well, once you again, it's just knowledge. The phrase "knowledge is power" is 201, and remember, knowledge is equated with light in the occult and other people, not just the occult. Just a lot of people associate light with knowledge. It's like knowledge is power, light is power. Light makes things possible, gives you the ability to see. Something could be in front of your face your whole life, but you were in the darkness, you couldn't see it. Now you got the flashlight, you're like, oh, I see it. I see what they did there. It's 201 again. It's like Roddy Piper and They Live. Remember, Roddy Piper tweeted on September 27th that They Live was a documentary. That's the day in history the Jesuits are recognized by Rome. The day leaving 95 days left in the year, and again to counter the 95 Theses, like Timothy McVeigh's big ritual in 95, like how Martin Luther wrote the 95 Theses, and they assassinated Martin Luther King Jr. on the 95th day of 1968 and then passed the nation's first gun control legislation 201 days later. First major gun control legislation, 1968, 201 days after the ritual with MLK, which was all Jesuit. But yeah, they're literally putting on hit shows like Stranger Things. I never seen that show until now, but I'm just like, wow. Roddy Piper. Let me pull up Roddy Piper real quick. Roddy Piper, just to make a point. That movie, They Live, it came out 201 days after Roddy Piper's birthday, for the record. Begins with a mural, picture of a vaccine mural on the wall of LA. But he died on July 31st. Again, that's the day in history Ignatius of Loyola died. Just like how this woman, who's announced dead on Ignatius of Loyola's anniversary, becoming the Superior General, her first record was on Ignatius of Loyola Day. So think about it. Think about all this just being a perfect coincidence. Think about it all being a perfect coincidence. How could it be? I mean, for the skeptic, like I know how it is to argue with people who don't want to learn. Like my sister, she'd just be going, "Look at all the dates you're naming: July 31st, September 27th, April 19th. I mean, that's a lot of days." It's like, well, that's 3 out of the 365, so it's like less than a fraction of a percent. I mean, so you feel like you want to do even odds? We'll put 100 golf balls here in the tub and put your name goes on one of them. And if you pull out one, then you win the money. And if you don't, I win. I mean, see, when I do that kind of stuff with people who argue with me, that's usually just when they shut up and they just don't want to argue anymore. They already know they lost the argument, but they're still not going to admit that they're wrong. They're going to say like, I got something else to think about. I got the game's on. But no, these things are improbable and they're going on every day. And we've been on top of it. And for being since this work like laser focused in on the Jesuits in the time of the pandemic and Kobe, look at what's happened. I just cannot get any views anymore. We've lost several channels and we just can't get any views anymore. From July 31st, the anniversary of that album's release, to the news of her death is 263 days later, the 56th prime. If you're new here, Society of Jesus 56, Black Lives Matter 56. Huge with the patterns. There's a reason Obama, the first black president, won the 56th election, and the list goes on. Kamala, the first black woman to take office, and, 56. That's how old she turned in 2020, the year they won election. Right before the election, she turned 56. Born in 1964, the year of the Civil Rights Act. One-term senator, straight to the Oval Office like Obama. In the Jesuit-controlled city with the rituals, where they use the actors to get people's hopes up, to divide people, because they know certain people are polarizing for certain reasons based on this society they've created. They know what kind of populace they've created with their slave schools and their entertainment. But yeah, here, I got to zip through the rest of this. For all you guys on the sports Patreon, pay attention to this part because I'll be on the Patreon in a minute if you're watching this stream. She's found dead in Nashville, okay? Nashville's an NHL city. She's found dead the day the NHL season ends. And understand, Nashville, home of the Predators, right? So she's dead at 47. And you guys are new here. That's what I'm showing. Like how you can see that the sports leagues, the media, the politics, the way they bring these things together on a daily basis, day after day, you can see that there's a network, there's an organization to this, and these rituals are more planned than you realize. Sports are scripted. You can prove that with this knowledge every day. But anyhow, she died in an NHL city on the last day of the regular season. NHL's 47. She's from Canada. Canada hasn't won the World Series or the Stanley Cup since 93. Stanley equals 93 big way, 24 the small way. Canada's also 24. Here we are in 2024. This woman who's dead, Mandisa, she's from Canada. The team there is the Ottawa Senators, which equals 47. The Predators' last win of the year. Or hold on. Let me double check this real quick. Make sure I don't get this right or get this wrong. We do want to get it right. We call Penguins the 42 team. They just lost a player at age 42, former player recently. And just Pittsburgh, major Jesuit stronghold. The Rooney family owns the Steelers as Jesuits. I forgot to make the point about Stranger Things. That when that scene happens where they show the cop car that's 201, it's the year 1984. Again, the Jesuit order equals 201 the big way, 84 the small way. Superior general equals 84. The last superior general of the Jesuits died at age 84. Huge Jesuit number is 84. You've seen a lot of the Rooney family of the Pittsburgh Steelers die at 84. But Jesuit has the Gematria of 84 as well as 42. Penguins is 42. 4-2 was the last game of the regular season for the Predators to keep them on 47 wins for the year. But she's from Ottawa, right? And Ottawa Senators has that Gematria 47. They just had a nice big upset at the end of the year, keeping their opponent on 47 wins. So again, these numbers are not arbitrary. It's about time. It's been a long time since Canada won the Stanley Cup, and Canada, that's their sport, hockey. It's their national sport, hockey. Hockey equals 31. It's been 31 years since they won it. So anyway, I just want you to pay attention to this in light of her dying in Nashville, but being from Ottawa, and then the Predators start the playoffs against a Canadian team, the Vancouver Canucks. We'll be looking more at things like this because likely there's numbers in this series that will connect to this right here, the Canadian-born singer dead in Nashville. Again, All of these sports go back to Masonry. Modern Masonry is a Jesuit creation. The Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, who died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment when Order of Illuminati is 201. But again, you think about just all these secret societies, they connect to these sports leagues. They're working by this Kabbalistic code. They're intertwining these things day in and day out. Get more on a Jesuit calendar where it all lines up. Those of you guys who keep saying man can't do this. To say that man cannot add and plan dates is to say that man hasn't built any skyscrapers in the world then either. Because if you don't think man can add and plan dates, again, then how could man pull off much more complex levels of mathematics to engineer the structures we see in this world? Again, not all people. I mean, there are people that literally have like 1,000 times more brain capacity than the proles walking around in the streets. So please don't say what you think that you know the limits of man are because you can't comprehend how man could do this. To me, it doesn't seem that hard. Not when you've been building it. You're paying people to participate in it. You got script writers everywhere for 1,000 shows a day that are on TV worldwide. You only have a handful of sports leagues in comparison to write scripts for. You got zebras on the field making the bogus calls that don't make any sense to ensure outcomes. By the way, about this death being seemingly synced with the Predators and her dead at 47 and time equaling 47, time also equals 25. The words death, time, Vatican, like this year we had the Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday. Pope's another 25 word. Devil's another 25 word. Again, it's the Predators' 25th season. You have the death of this woman, and she was a gospel singer. The word gospel is 25. And that doesn't mean the gospel's the devil, but we know about the gospel because of the Catholic Church, which is at the Vatican. The word earth is 25. The Catholic Church's goal is to dominate earth. They've spread this religious belief across the earth. It's converted a lot of people. A lot of places where it used to just be like Buddhists or monks. Now they also have Christian elements and they fight with each other. They have civil wars with each other, like in Burma. Been going on for 50 some years, fighting over religion because of, newer things being introduced to the region. It's why I'm not convinced that any religion is correct. I am convinced that people are supposed to live with a spiritual mindset. And yeah, maybe even though things like souls are not scientifically proven, in a way, it's kind of a gamble, right? If we do have a soul and there is an afterlife, do you want to gamble with the chance that there's not? And you live a corrupt life that brings more misery into the world. It might have been beneficial to you, but you brought more misery in the world for your own gain. That's not a nice thing. And now there might be, on top of doing not a nice thing for the earth, there might actually be a real world consequence. That is not known for certain from anyone I know. There's people that think they know for certain, but again, again, I don't know. For me personally, I don't know that to a certainty that there's an afterlife or there isn't. But to me, it does seem that we can see that life can be a beautiful thing, and it could be a beautiful thing a lot more often if people were making the right decisions consciously when they come up to these moments in life where they're given an option. And maybe one puts them way ahead, but they know it's not the right thing to do. Again, the problem with Christianity, in a way, it kind of enforces like, yeah, do that bad thing and then just believe and pray for forgiveness because, Jesus forgives sin and man's born sinner. That's something I really don't like about Christianity. I think it's fundamentally wrong how most Christians have interpreted it just like that, and it's created this bad behavior system. And again, that behavior system might have gotten the end of Mandisa with her premature demise announced by the numbers. Sorry, I do got to wrap this up. I've been long in the tooth trying to make the point here in recent days because I feel like I don't know. I just feel like I gotta I don't know really spell everything out at these times to make sure the new people that come here are getting the gist of what I'm putting down. But here's one last point I want to make. From the first Grammy this woman won, and if you guys are new here, we talk about just the ritualistic deaths with the Grammys year in and year out. Let's go back to 2016, you guys. It was the year of the 58th presidential election after Trump announced he ran from the 58-story Trump Tower. But the day of the 58th Grammys, Prince's ex-girlfriend Vanity died on the anniversary of Prince's mother dying. And Purple Rain equals 58. So does Freemasonry. So does Rosicrucian. So does Secret Society. The first degree of Freemasonry is The Apprentice. Trump won that 58th election later that year. 201 days after Prince died. Trump recently buried his ex-wife by the numbers on the 201st day of the year. He's a good Jesuit from Fordham. But yeah, again, Apprentice, the first degree of Freemasonry, just the obvious ritualism of it. Oprah Winfrey, 58, asked Trump in the 80s if he'd want to be president someday. These things being planned out long in advance. She's asking that back in the time of Prince Purple Rain. Now it's all coming together in 2016 as Prince dies on the Queen's birthday on 4/21, April 21st, when he had the song I Would Die For You with the number 4, like April the 4th month, and you, the 21st letter. Dead on 4/21 was Prince. I Would Die For You. 33 years after recording in 2016. Perfectly sync with Vanity. The exact, you know how it's about 67 with satanic and soul and blood sacrifice and human sacrifice? We talked about what that had to do with Vanity's death. And then we talked about what it could happen to do with Prince's death before he died because we thought Prince's time was short when that happened. Prince ends up dead a span of 67 days from Vanity. But yeah, check this out. Again, just this whole Christian thing. The Beast, a gospel singer, dead in this Christian ritual. We talk about Christians 47. She's dead. The news of her death is 79 days after on this very Jesuit day. Yesterday would have been 78 days after her death when she did die. Jesuit is 78. Society of Jesus is 79. But so is Christianity 79. So is Knights Templar. The true name of Jesus, Yeshua, is 79. The word murder is 79. 78, 79, Jesuit patterns. For the pandemic, it was declared 78 days after Jesuit educated Fauci's birthday or on his 79th day of being 79 years old. 78, 79. COVID, deadly. Jesuit. Jesuits warned about as known killers to get their way. And again, maybe at the end of the day, if we could get to the right group of Jesuit priests who are insiders on this versus a person like yours truly or more than likely you watching, we're outsiders on this. We didn't grow up on this. I'm trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together from looking from the outside in. I asked for years, what's up with all the 47 in the news? There's way too much 47. They're just sticking 47 in the story to put a 47 in there. And then you realize you're like, secret society studies this number. Oh, wait a minute. This nation's birthday is the 4th day of the 7th month. Then you start to pay attention. You start to realize it's going on all the time. You start to realize it is about time. These are time rituals. Mandisa's number was up. No, I don't know that Mandisa was a transgender because her name is Man. Is it possible? Yes. Should that be your lead argument with your friends and family? Oh my God, it's obviously a man. Again, if you want to be taken seriously, you got to come with facts, proof, and evidence. And I know it can be frustrating because you can come with that and it'll still be denied. They'll just laugh and be like, oh, then why don't they talk about it on CNN? And then your hair turns even more gray. You're like, God, these people don't get it, man. They don't understand that TV's the paid for. Who's controlling all these news anchors reading off the stories to you? Who wrote those scripts? Who decided that's the nightly news tonight? How come Jesse Waters is going to have 15 minutes of jokes on his segment tonight and act like he's all serious about the way the world's crumbling and how evil it is, but not have time for this? You know, he makes it seem like he's just taking off YouTubers. Oh, yeah, you got a cool TikTok channel. I want to have you on tonight. This isn't a cool TikTok channel, YouTube channel, this information. Trying to save lives, pull people. I mean, Fox News like pretends like it's on the side of the truth seeker. But at the end of the day, it's like Sean Hannity goes on a 15-minute rant about how there should be no jab mandates and then spends the next 3 minutes talking about how he's got all the boosters and he's been totally healthy and he's happy he did it and he recommends you do it. It's like, this is what Fox News is. It's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. You can rant for 15 minutes about how it's a bullshit, but then if you're insisting that people go get it, what the hell's the difference? I guess it might as well be mandated if it's that great, Sean. My favorite radio personality when I was growing up, Mike Malloy. He's where I learned the phrase truth seeker from. He used to always say, he used to greet everybody as the truth seekers. And then he'd get into a rant about how much he hated the world and the people in it. In a way, I think from listening to him so much when I was younger, I think in a way I took on some of his persona when I started presenting. But at the same time, I listened to him because I felt that way. But it's funny. I couldn't ever get Mike Malloy. I don't know if he's still on the air. He might still be on the air. I haven't even tried to listen in years. But the last time was just like the 4th time that they had me I was calling in to share this information, see what he would think is calling me a truth seeker all these years. I couldn't get him on to talk about it. Every time the screening person act like I was just going to wait on hold, and then I'd wait on hold for the whole show and I'd never get picked up. I was like, after like the 4th, 5th time that happened, I was like, this is some kind of tactic I don't know. Because I explained that I was a longtime fan of the show. Maybe they did, it's like they don't want to let you down hard. So they're like, here, we'll just keep him in the back room and see if he catches on that we're not really going to bring him on and talk about this letters and numbers thing. It's a damn shame, man. That was like back in 2014. I was trying to get on there. So I haven't listened to old Mike for a decade, but I always liked that he said truth seekers. And then I find the Manly P. Hall book with the little letter number code in it. And he calls his readers truth seekers. All right. Shout out to Logan Thomas. Logan, by the way, I still got your mic, man. At some point, we will be down there, and I got a mic for you. Thank you again, Logan. Appreciate it. And thank you again, Nima. You are very generous. Nima, please make sure you're not being too generous. I really do appreciate it. But again, when I just see people donating all the time, I just want to make sure that they are straight. I always say, man, if we just had people supporting $1 a month, 3 pennies a day budgeted, again, there should be an army of people down to get. Again, you guys, if this was on the news, I mean, the thing about if you could get a Fox News to talk about this, the advantage would be they would be bringing on Jewish rabbis, and you'd be getting some different opinions. You might be learning some different things. You might be hearing something you never heard before because that was locked up in the synagogue. It's just yeah. I'll be back later today, you guys. There's more to talk about. Why they did this ritual in Paris on Ignatius of Loyola Day. You guys see this? That the police had to lock down at the Iranian. Hold on, did I click on the right one? I got to get this one out there real quick. This, if you guys don't know, the Jesuits are from Paris, France. Ignatius of Loyola, who founded the Jesuits, started it in Paris, France. Paris equals 72, like Jesuit order. We got Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope on the 72nd day of the year, the first to live in Suite 201. The last French pope in the history of the church was the 201st. But they had to tell you it happened at 11 a.m. local or 9 GMT. Isn't that nice? 11:09. It's nice how they do that. There's a lot of things that are interesting about this. But yeah, again, it's just April 19th. It's a big day for Ignatius of Loyola. That's where it all started. State of Israel 201, just 1,201 fingerprints all over what's going on in Russia, Ukraine, what's going on in Israel right now. Again, a lot of Ashkenazi Jews who are in Israel, their ancestors are from the Ukraine area. These things are not an accident. The Jesuits are manipulating the people of the world, all Abrahamic religions, using Ashkenazi Jews as a polarizing, divisive figure in the Middle East that they made happen out of world wars that they cooked up. Again, that's like when I look back at the decade plus I've been doing this, there's been times where I have ranted too hard at certain groups and been mean. And, I mean, those are the regrets I have. But at the same time, in a way, like, had YouTube not taken down those videos, people go back and look and see some of the things I said that I would not say anymore. And I'd say, well, that's the example of growth too. That was the mistake at the time, but also just like, if you are that wrong about something, you have to acknowledge that, oh, you were misled for this reason. You found greater evidence. You're about to arrest this guy over here. He was looking guilty as hell, but it was actually because there was a criminal mastermind behind him who was really good at framing and getting away. That's why you got nobody talking about the Jesuits. Even though, I mean, you think it would be well known that why don't we learn that in slave school? That why isn't that like it made a clear point that we know exactly where the calendar came from? And they make a good point about it was the Jesuits. It was a Jesuit priest who gave us the calendar. And the Jesuits were these, why don't we learn about that in slave school? I mean, literally, there were founders who were worried about what happens if the Jesuits come out of suppression. Why is that not in the teaching? Imagine if we were taught that, and then we looked at this world. I mean, don't you think April 19th, 1995, it's not just Terrence Yankee, the cop who found beat up and tied up and dead and ruled a suicide by the authorities? But Terrence Yankee, the only police officer in Oklahoma City, seemingly looking into if something's wrong, and then he winds up dead. That story's all kinds of suspicious. But yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of people been like, wait a minute, this is this big, important Jesuit day. Got another Jesuit-educated president in there right now, Bill Clinton. Let's see how this lines up with him. Oh, my God, it lines up perfectly with him and Keating. And Oklahoma City, you guys, which happened on this day in 95, The nation's first counterterrorism legislation was passed ever. Counterterrorism equates to 201. Counterterrorism 201. Joe Biden passed that legislation, and then the massive 201 ritual at Oklahoma City 68 days later, when terror equals 68, and McVeigh was born in 68, and World Trade Center construction began in 68, and 911 was made the code in 68, and the letter CIA equals 68 in reverse. Huge number, huge year, 1968. The lead hijacker born in 68. The Quran code that said the Quran started on 19, discovered in 68, and they had to tell you 19 hijackers, and then 19 years later it's COVID-19, and that's the chaos code and the moon, and why Thomas Jefferson, who was worried about the Jesuits, said you got to worry about how every 19 years there needs to be a revolution to preserve freedom and liberty. I mean, he must have had to know he had to speak back in code. Or otherwise, that manuscript from what goes down in the historical record about what Jefferson said, maybe some sentences were taken out. Maybe he did say more than why you need a revolution every 19 years. Maybe he did lay out why. Maybe it just doesn't go down in his storybook. I mean, I have a lot of great videos from 2014, 2015. They'll never be in the online his storybook because they were deleted almost 10 years ago now. You know? They should still be up talking about the same things. But yeah, I just find it funny how this work was going so much more viral in 2016, 2017, and it wasn't a fraction as good. We did great with the predictions back then, but we got it so much more understood now. So RIP to Mandisa. I'm not going to accuse Mandisa of being a man because her name starts with man. If you want to think that that's what it means and that's what this is really all about and that's the mockery, that's up to you. But again, I ask you, for all you guys who go around spreading information like that, that's the thing. I make a video on YouTube and I just come up here and tell jokes about Mandisa the man. Probably gets some big views, and then actually in this day and age, it probably gets taken down for hate speech 2 or 3 days later, and you can't post for a week because it's just like you can't even be a comedian. That's a penalty. But yeah, I mean that information, man, it's like okay, it's possible. What about teaching the world about 47? So once this story is over, they can see it in the next 100 stories that unfold in the next calendar month that are all mainstream. Once you're just paying attention, you're like, holy shit, it is a 47 barrage. These people won't stop with the 47. Remember, Israel drawn up in 47. State of Israel 201. I got to get off. I'm running late for the sports people again. But yeah, going to have to research this in light of the hockey seasons. Canada on the big drought can't win their own sports championship it's been 31 years since 93. She's dead. From Canada in Nashville, the day the season ends. The hometown team finishes on 47 wins. These things are not an accident. It's not an accident. The first Super Bowl was in the 47th season of the NFL. Rituals. Rites. Again, rites. R-I-T-E-S. Like ritual rites. Like the Scottish rite of Freemasonry where you perform rituals to climb in rank. And you wonder, like, again, a lot of times you know more about these artists. Somebody might know who she's really connected to in the musical world. Sometimes these people are like the smaller fish getting eaten up by the bigger fish who just keeps climbing higher and higher on the world stage. And, you know, as I say that, I turn on the news this morning and all they're talking about is that new Taylor Swift album, which came out by the numbers. We talked about that back at the time of the Super Bowl, how the Super Bowl was all rigged with her. Taylor Allison Swift, 104th NFL season. And we were talking about back then because this album was announced for this day. But now she does a double album. There's probably something to that. Taylor Swift getting all this attention. Another big music star dead. Big fish, small fish. Evil system. Thank you again, Sarah Sutherland. I'm going to keep rocking your hoodie. Tell it needs to go in the laundry room. If you guys ever wonder why I wear the same hoodies a lot, I'll only wear them like in the house when I'm presenting because it's chilly when you're sitting because I keep the temperature down. We're still to the cooler part of the year. We're in the time of year where it's real cold in the night. It's like in the 30s degrees, but then by midday it gets up to around 70 right now. But the mornings and stuff are cold and save on the bill. Wear the hoodie. And if it starts to get a little funky in the smell, that's when it gets a wash. But that's how you preserve the font too if you don't need to wash it. Anyway, shout out to Sarah Sutherland who gave me this hoodie. Hopefully, it's not too much information. Oh my God, Zach, do your laundry. I do. I keep it clean. It's just I'm saying these hoodies that I wear for the presentations. You can do a few rewears, cut down on the soap detergent. But yeah, shout out to you, Sarah Sutherland. I appreciate the hoodie and the ongoing generosity, and you are appreciated. So we'll leave it there for now, you guys. I'll see you guys on the sports stream. Those of you who are on the Patreon, be over there in a few minutes. And until next time.